Okay, right. Let's rock.
Okay, cool. How should we let's go through the questions first, or how do you want to do it?
I think perhaps we'll go through a bit of analysis first, so maybe just UJ and GJ, because I think it's probably the most common pairs traded amongst probably everybody's groups. So I don't see many
Yeah.
people trade anything apart from obviously they trade majors, but not that many people do. Mostly they're either scalping UJ or scalping GJ. There's never
Okay.
really anything else that I ever see in the groups. But so yeah, maybe we go through them high time frame to low, and then from that we can just take questions obviously as they come in. If there's questions that do come in, otherwise stick them in a chat box and we can just go through them at the end. And then I've got some questions that I've got to go through anyway for my groups. That would make sense.
Okay, cool. That'd be fine. Perfect. Let's do that. Okay. So I'm just gonna put this box real quick. So I guess we'll just start with UJ first, just to make it easier. So usually, I mean, you can just pop in anytime, but I'll just go through what I usually do.
Yeah, sure.
But I mostly have this trend line that I've been eyeing since the triangle break on UJ. So I'm keeping a close eye on that pretty much.
What, for a retest of it and then a drop?
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah.
Like for a possibility, and then I look at candle closes of the most recent structure. So over here, I pretty much see like 109.8 is a nice zone for us to retest before continuing down, and it gives a nice confluence with the trend line
as well. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, and then I just see like from this candle close right here, or even this candle close right here, because it's a more recent one, you can clearly see that we kind of bounced right off it.
Yeah, and it makes quite a lot of sense actually, based from that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
So, I mean, that's pretty much it. At the moment, we can't say like people always think, like monthly candle, we still have like about more than a week. We have about 9 days, I think, left, depending which time zone you're in. So you just have to wait for it. If it closes bullish.
So yeah, 8-9 days.
Yeah, 8-9 days. So I mean, there's still room for us to drop down. So we have to wait. If it closes bullish, I'm pretty confident we can maybe give a retest somewhere. Well, we'll drop down to the weekly.
And you know what I've actually have seen as well, like quite recently, I looked into the monthly a little bit more because it's not something that I really dabbled with. So generally what I'll be doing is if I've got a lot of time on my hands, like I usually do, I'll just scalp just as normal, be on everybody's daily webinars and stuff. But when I'm looking at like intraday and longer term, weekly wick fills and monthly wick fills are just so easy to catch. Like,
yeah.
So if UJ at the end of April just leaves us a nice wick, like chances are we just will fill. So that's how I'd be looking to take entries if I was going for bullish entries.
Okay. Yeah, that'll be interesting. You can cover the scalping. It'll help me with maybe the entries as well.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So yeah, maybe drop to the one thing I would say though is if you're looking for a drop, I mean, how far are you looking? Because really, are you looking realistically for 100 on the dot? Because like can USD just drop more like significantly again? Like we've already been pretty much punished. Like I just don't know whether it makes sense for the like economy reasons, but I mean 101 looks good because if you look at that little area on the left, so you've got that first area on the left where your trend line is, and then the second area. I like the look of that actually.
Yeah, exactly. 101 looks good. And the candles close above it, which is nice. But I mean, at the same time, I have this trend line. So I've been thinking quite a lot. I have this blue trend line, right? And if I remove it, let's say, because in a way, what we're looking at is a kind of a bullish flag, right?
Yeah.
In a way, right? So technically, in a bullish flag, you don't tend to connect the pole of the flag to the flag part. You pretty much connect this part together. So if this closes bullish, this is pretty much how I draw my trend line, and would still be in a triangle. So that's where I feel like we can have a breakout. And just based on how it's a bullish flag, will most likely go up, but we'll have to see at the same time. But if we do drop, there's a few areas that I'm gonna just plot right now on the monthly. So then I mean, at the same time, people can see that, you know, the zone we're at, all these black lines pretty much is also a monthly level, so it's going to be very strong. So if I drop down to the weekly, this is what I usually do. I'm going to hide the trend lines real quick. I usually just have a look on the monthly for that. Oh shit, one sec. Okay, that cleans it up. So if you see, for example, this one that we drew on the monthly, 109.8, on the weekly it doesn't look too pretty.
No,
so it doesn't close above or below. So I just readjusted a bit. But that's still a monthly zone.
Yeah, if you look furthest left now, like there, yeah, that makes perfect sense because you had that big rejection off that.
Yeah, and you have candle close here, you have wicks here, you have candle close here, candle close here. So that's a good area. And it's a very strong psychological zone.
Yeah, 110 flat.
Yeah. Here, we have this one where we're currently at. So if we make it 107.8, we're right at resistance, which could be our... So if we, for example, have a bearish engulfing, it could mean we could just drop, because in a way, we are still in a bearish trend on the weekly and the higher time frame, because on the weekly, what we did create was a lower low, but we don't have a lower high at the moment. So it could be at 3 possible zones.
I think what I've been looking for as well with UJ at the moment, I've been trying to grab that lower high move for probably 3 weeks. I've been trying to. I tried to get the bottom. I really tried to get the bottom on UJ for like probably 3 weeks or more, and each time I just kept getting stopped out at break even.
Yeah, it's bloody annoying. But that engulfing on the weekly, I should have just taken it because it's too nice.
I mean, you would have had, like, even if you just waited for like that little liquidity wick down. Like, this is what I mean about the weekly wick fill. So if you zoom in a little bit, you can just see perfectly you had that little liquidity grab on 1, 2, 3 candles ago. So you had that massive engulfing, and then you had the liquidity pull down. And then if you took it entries at like 106,200, which is pretty much where the candle opens. Like after the liquidity is already like pulled, so you know where your stop loss needs to be. Like, it makes a lot of sense, and it's just a clear, nice wick fill as well. Because how many pips is that anyway? That's for what? So let's say 106,200 to
140.
Yeah. So I mean, risk reward there is not bad at all. What was that? Like a 50 pip for 140? Not that bad.
Like that, right?
Yeah.
2-1. Perfect.
It's good to me. And I mean, it looks like, obviously it's easy to say in hindsight, but I mean, weekly wick fills I've just seen so many times, especially on, I think there was a nice one on GBP USD this week that actually caught me out. And there was a nice one on GJ.
Yeah. I will have a look at GJ after.
Yeah. Well, I got stopped out on GBP USD this week. So I took entries on the Friday, so the Friday before last, and I was up about 45 pips, and market opened on Sunday, and there was no gap, and I was like, okay, cool, there's no gap. I was worried about a gap because of the Syrian stuff. No gap, and I thought, okay, well, I'll just go to sleep, because stop loss was about 25 pips or something. It was literally just above like the last high. I was like, yeah, I'll be cool here. And I woke up and I'd hit stop loss. I was like, hang on a minute, this doesn't look right. Like, it turned like 70 pips in like that hours I was asleep. I was like, I'm not sure about this. And that was literally a pure weekly wick fill.
Yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. It always has a little fake out and everything. Nothing ever makes too much sense. Like, especially GBP. I like GBP USD, but I swear to God, sometimes the shit it does, I'm like, you got can you just respect it a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, like when I look at it now, I think, okay, well, that was obvious. Like, we literally came down, formed a really small higher low, and then like broke my zone for the higher high, and then since then it's just dropped so hard. And I was like, that was the move that I wanted. I just should have managed the trade better.
Yeah. I completely missed it. I just saw like how crazy it went. I'm like, okay, I don't know what GBP wants to do because USD might be strengthening, but GBP just keeps going. GBP USD keeps going up. I'm like, I'm gonna stay out of view for now.
Yeah, it was the news as well. There was news on Tuesday, Wednesday, I think, or it might have been Thursday as well. And that was just a massive catalyst for the massive moves.
Mm-hmm.
This is the inflation news as well.
Yeah, actually, I'll pop out, open the Forex factory just to have
Yeah,
a
I
look. Do
was
you look at this?
like, what week are we on? Yeah,
I think this week.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it's
Okay.
this week. So,
So since we're looking just at GBP JPY, I'll remove
and
Europe and
I was going to say, we're looking at USD JPY as well. So you've got Monday's clear.
I mean, in my opinion, all these USD news pretty much doesn't mean anything to me. I don't even bother looking.
The only one that I'd be worried about would be GDP, but isn't that so? What's Forex factory set to? Is it set to Eastern?
My time. So
What time zone are you?
GMT +7.
GMT +7. So if you take 7 hours off that, that would be what, like midday, 12:30. Yeah, okay. So the only one I'd be bothered about would be the GDP, but I wouldn't be trading at like midday on a Friday anyway. Like for me, that
Yeah,
would be
me
like
too.
midday. So I mean, we
I
looked
usually
at
try to avoid Fridays.
I mean, I'll jump on the webinars, and obviously this Friday we did a webinar, and it was the CAD news as well, so we caught quite a lot of that. But generally, especially when the weather's good, because the weather's terrible in England. Like, if the weather's good, like you won't see me in front of a laptop on a Friday.
That's good. Yeah, weather's really terrible. I got depressed from the grey skies. I wasn't used to it.
Yeah, it's nice today though. It's nice today. I will say that.
Yeah, my girlfriend told me it's really nice and warm now. I was like, shit, I wasn't lucky.
Okay, so we've been through monthly, been through weekly. I mean daily.
So I just readjusted the lines from the weekly to make it look better on the daily.
Yeah, would agree with that, because looking left like that was obviously where you had that big pullback and the big sell off the first time at 107,800.
Mm-hmm.
I had you know what? Actually, just talking about 107,800, I had a limit set on. I think it might have been Wednesday night or Thursday night, and I had my limit set at 107. I want to say it was like 107,800 or something like that. Or it might have been just above, because I was trying to getting like 10, 20, 30 pips off that sell-off.
Mm-hmm.
So when you we'll jump into the 4 hour in a minute, but you'll see where I missed the limit by about 3 standards.
Oh.
And it dropped from like 107, I think it was 107,780 or something like that, down to like 107,500. So it's like about 30 pips.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Such a nice like limit that I'd set. I was like, no.
I get so scared with limits. Like I just get, because I'm so used to waiting for my closes on the 4 hour that I get terrified with limits nowadays.
Yeah, I think
But I miss out so much.
I like it when it's just like an obvious place to put it. Like I've got a limit set on gold at like 1263 or something like that. Like around there, and like I'll just keep that open until it comes. Like I always find as well, if I've got a busy week and I can see moves are gonna happen, like but I might not be there to pull the trigger, I'll just set a limit. So the drawdown might be a little bit bigger, but like at the end of the day, if you're busy and you can't look at your laptop or you can't look at your phone, etc., like it's better to be in that, because I mean, you just lower your lot size a little bit, you stop a little bit bigger, but you'll still get in. Like for example, I've got limits on USD CAD, gold. I had one on USD JPY, but I've got rid of that because it missed by 3 standards on Thursday or Friday. So I'm thinking, sooner or later we're going to break that level. It's only been like the first. It's been like the first and second big sell-off, and it's happened twice. So I'm thinking, like after the first couple, like it's probably going to break it.
Yeah, I really see 108.5. I mean, what I really want is just a retest of this broken support to respect market structure.
Mm-hmm.
I really want that. That's going to be a nice sell-off there, I think.
Looking at the daily, so you've got high, low. High. I mean, yeah, you could. The bullish structure looks quite good actually on the daily. Like you had that little patch of like a little patch of a range there. So what was that? That would have been in the previous week. So yeah, that week. But yeah, that makes sense.
But that one was nice. I mean, that thing I took buys because how to say, we were just above the broken trend line. And if we just drop down to the 4 hour now, you'll see like I had this plus I had how did I draw it actually? I think I drew it like this. And we had a little triangle, like a bullish flag forming.
Yeah, we took the same trade that week.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh man,
the channel. Yeah, because there was that big bearish channel on like the daily and the 4 hour. Which you've kind of drawn, and so I took a loss on it first time. I took like 15 pip loss on it, and then after that, you know, you can see where it like broke back into the channel at like 106, maybe 106,300 or whatever that is. Oh no, sorry, it's a little bit higher. But so at that point, that's where I got stopped out because my stop loss was back in the channel. And then I took entries the next day. You see, it might have been the next day, or like towards the end of the next day. You see where we had like those wicks where you've drawn the sort of ascending trend line. Yeah. So that's where I took the next entries.
Okay. Yeah, that thing was really annoying me.
Yeah. Okay. So I remember I was in the first one for about 2 days, and I was like, okay, I was up about 40, 50 pips, and I was like, we're not pushing any higher. Like, we just can't get past this level. Like, we're gonna come back. And then, you know, I always try not to put stop loss at break even unless I'm up like 50 pips. Just because I've seen it so many times when I've put stop loss at break even, and then it'll come back, maybe tap it, or you put it 5-10 pips in profit, like, and then the actual move just starts again afterwards. Like, it's so frustrating.
I know, it's just like ridiculous. Like, I think I took a trade here, for example.
Yeah.
I'll do this now. After this engulfing, after we bounced off this level, I took engulfing, and I knew like this was too big of an engulfing and it'll come down by my SL under. So I closed my profits here first, and I put the rest of my positions in break even, and it hit it, and I was like, oh fuck, I knew it. I shouldn't have moved it. I knew it was gonna retest. I was just so mad.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think a lot of people actually do struggle with, is that, let's say you're up 50 pips. Like, people, like, if you're going for 100 pips, 200, 300 pips, like, you're going to have, like, retests. Like, you're just going to have structure, so your highs and lows, like, it's not going to literally just rocket 200 pips. Like, you might be up 30 pips, and then the next candle closes and you're only up 10 pips, or you're only up 5 pips. Like, I know that was a question that I looked at, from the sheet that you sent out, like talking about like how can you actually hold your trades open for like the length of time that you do. I think that's what people struggle with, is that like if they've got a big target, like they expect a big target to be hit in a day or 2 days. But if you think about UJ, it's got like an average daily range of so many pips, so it's not going to realistically move the entire target that they want in like a small amount of time.
Exactly. I think one of my students, they took a trade because this engulfing you see right here for a retest of this broken resistance, they held it, and look at how long they held it for. And they finally hit target, the 107.8, because that was our first area of target, and the second one is 108.5. But I mean, bloody hell, he's been in there for
20 days.
Yeah.
And that's even that's what I think a lot of people struggle with, is holding over the weekend. Like, so when I was talking to my group, they're like, you know, are you sure you're going to hold that over the weekend? I was like, yeah. Like, I mean, I've only ever really been caught by a gap once, and like stuff like that you can't control. You can't control what somebody might say. Like, you know, an election, I'm always like conservative. So if I was holding it over the weekend and I knew there was an election, like, I'm not going to be stupid and do something like that. But if there's nothing planned, then, you know, you just gotta let it ride.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, most of the time it's just coming down to just having your target set. So if I just zoom out and I move back to, let's say, here, right? I would obviously go into this trade looking, okay, this is where I'd enter, and this is the reason because of a retest. I have my engulfing that I want. My SL would be under the wick. My first target, because we created a higher low, I would obviously look to test the highs, right? Because that's common sense most of the time. So that's the first target. That's 2 to 1. You just let it go. After it hits my first target, which it did like around here, then I move my SL into break even. So under this wick probably. And obviously my second target was 107.8, just because we had like a little gap. And then you just let it run. Yeah, a lot of empty space. Like over here, you can see there's no clear structure. There's structure here, here, but the main one right now is here. That's the cleanest one, and it makes sense also on the monthly level. So that's why I always look at that level. And you just have to let it run most of the time. You have to just trust it. I think there was a question as well on the sheet saying like how to avoid emotional attachment when swing trading and not to check or close positions, and how often should I check my trades. So what I usually tell everybody is the only way you can actually remove emotional attachment from a trade is if you properly manage risk. So let's say you enter here and your first take profit is here, right? So obviously I might risk 1%, somebody might risk 3% to make about like almost 9% if you risk 3 to 1 almost. But what comes down to is, yeah, you might be comfortable with risking 3%. Like you can say, oh yeah, if I lose 3% on my account, it's okay. But you have to remember, like what I always tell my students as well is, you have to remember about how it affects you emotionally. So if you do lose that 3%, can you handle that emotionally? If you can't, maybe just drop down to 1 or 0.5% and build up your confidence. And that's it. And then you check your trade. If you're taking your trade on the 4 hour and you're swing trading, you should realistically only be checking every 4 hours. That's it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think because one thing I would say, so anybody that maybe views this, a good swing trading based podcast episode from Chat with Traders that I've listened to. So this is what I do. So if I'm going anywhere and traveling anywhere, let's say for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, I could just sit and listen to music, or I could sit and listen to something that's actually going to help me. And so I listened to, not that long ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, it was episode 44, and it was a woman future trader, and it was lessons from it. That's the one. Now she's good to listen to. That was a good episode. And there's episode 82, I think it is, from about the 50th minute through to the end, so like the last 20 minutes, talks about the overcoming the fear of an outcome and being attached to an outcome rather than anything else. Like obviously, like talking about if you're attached to the outcome rather than letting things run and checking it every 4 hours, people will be checking it every hour, every half an hour. Like if you think about USD/JPY, like if people are scalping USD/JPY, it might take them 2 hours to get 10 pips. Like, as terrible as that sounds, like it can take an absolute age. It's just a slower moving pair. So if you expect them to check and be up 40-50 pips in half an hour, it's just unrealistic.
Yeah. And also I feel like especially for scalpers, what I liked about how you traded was like you scalp as well, but you also take into account the higher time frame. Which I think
makes sense.
Yeah, because I feel like if you understand the higher time frame and you understand where price wants to go long term, to scalp it, it'd be much easier because in a way you're taking the trade with the trend, right?
Yeah.
So
and you can just add positions when you're scalping as well. So if you can just add positions in at the next pullback.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've taken a couple of trades quite recently actually that have been started as like a 1 hour wick fill or a 4 hour wick fill, and then it will carry on. And the only reason, you move your stop loss, especially when. So what I find, if I'm moving stop loss on like pound yen, generally it went up like 30-40 pips, because some pairs they'll move quick, but they'll retrace just as much. Like the average range is a lot higher, so GJ will I think it's probably double UJ's daily range. And obviously don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure UJ is like 70 or 80 pips that I read. in certain sessions, and obviously that's not 70, 80 pips in one direction. It's both directions or consolidation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I think.
Yeah,
I think
GG.
if you're swing trading, you've got to have a realistic expectation of how long it's going to take to pay out. Like if you're in a trade on a Tuesday, and you might not exit till the Friday, or you might not exit till the following Tuesday. Like, so that's what I think. If you're swing trading as well, like, gives you a lot more time freedom than it does when you're scalping personally. Anyway,
Yeah.
because if you're scalping, then you think, okay, well, I'll go to the gym at this time and do this at this time. That's fine, but you have to actually plan your sessions accordingly. Whereas, we'll do our analysis now on a Sunday, and if there's anything, I might set a limit because that's what I actually do like setting limits for, because I'm not awake for Asian session. So there's always a session I can't really monitor. So that's where I find limits come in handy.
Yeah, for me, instead of doing limits, I usually use alerts just in case.
Yeah.
That makes me feel safer, but that's for me. So I think somebody asked about alerts. You pretty much, on TradingView, on your chat, they were saying, how do you set alerts? So pretty much there are many ways you can use alerts, and it's quite awesome in TradingView. But the only problem is if you want to have more than one, you have to pay for it. But you can do a free trial and keep reusing your account if you're that cheap. But mostly if you create a horizontal line, you can just right click on it, add alert on horizontal line, and you can add SMS, etc. Give you a message, one per bar. There are many options. Even a trend line can be set as a limit. So for example, let me draw it like that. And if it crosses, you can also just say like, look, if it's crossing this trend line, let me know. I'd be interested. Or pretty much anywhere at all. You can say at this price level, let me know. Send an email to SMS, send an SMS as well.
Yeah.
So I think they're great if you're not comfortable with limits. Like for me, I'm not. I'm a bit worried. I like to wait for the 4-hour candle close. So I use alerts as kind of my limit, and then I can monitor it the next 4-hour close.
Okay, so we've been through daily, been through weekly, monthly. Okay, so the 4-hour is up now. So you've just obviously readjusted in terms of like your daily levels down to the 4-hour. I mean, to be honest, it looks good. Right there. So yeah, you can see. So you can see actually where my limit was. So if you go to the top of that candle, that rejected.
This one?
No, so you see where the price is now, the candle before where the price is now. So that one, if you press the top of that, yeah, I must have had mine at like 900 or something.
Oh damn!
Yeah, because I used I had like a price zone on there from like the daily, and I always use like the average of the weeks. Like it's never for me, it's never one price.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Damn.
Because obviously you just had that enormous sell-off last time. Like you had a sell-off of like 500. No, sorry, you had a sell-off of like 300 pips.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking if I can even take 50, 100, I'll be happy with that. But I think this time we should push out of it. Maybe start making. I mean, technically we've had a high.
Yeah.
Not that significant, but it's happened.
Yeah, because I'm seeing this as like we're an interesting point at the moment, because what we did have, right? We had that in a way, like we created the high, we had the higher low, we had the lower high, and we had the higher low. That created a bullish flag, right? Ascending triangle. Not ascending triangle, just a triangle, and we broke out. We created the high. Now we have the higher low. Now we're respecting the previous high. So usually what happens when we respect the previous high, usually either we just break out the next week, or we come down to test the previous because it could be a double top, right? We could test this neckline, and then we could bounce, or we could go and create somewhere like around here, which is a nice area to create before we continue up.
Yeah, makes sense. Sorry about the dog.
Oh, but like, because I'm looking at possibly here, being higher low if we want a higher low before we break out. So this is just because we have the most touches. Like if you go back to the past, you see that this is a nice zone, 107.2 area or 107.1. You see? So it could be a possible higher low before we go up. And then we can, like, you can add confluences to it. Let's say Fibonacci, I don't use it, but if we put it there, you can see that around this area is about like 0.78. So it makes sense for a possible higher low if we want to break up. But at the same time, we just have to wait it out. But what I always tell my students is it's always important to visualize everything. So we could just break out. We could come back and create a higher low, or we could come and test the neckline and break out, or we could break the neckline and then retest and go down. So it was always good to visualize different possibilities that the market can give you, so that when it happens, you're prepared.
I get that.
Yeah, because you could just think it's going up and then suddenly it just reverses on you, you know? So you can't be biased all the time.
That would be like on GBP USD. So it broke out of like a big daily level and like came for a retest, but actually after about two, like I think it was another 2 candles. Sorry, I'm just trying to stop the dog running away and barking, so I've got him on my lap. He's wriggling around. Right, just get down then. Get off the desk. What's your head? It's a little sausage dog. Okay, go and play. Okay, so in terms of, so if you look at that where that big high is. Yeah. So I got stopped out. So I was in from about there. Yeah, I was in from about there.
Yeah, I see it. I think I remember. Yeah, I remember this trade. I was like, oh, that's nice. I want to get in on it as well. And look at that.
It just, that one candle just completely that blew it away.
Yeah, you took it here. I remember.
Yeah,
you were down it here.
Yes, I was up about 40 something pips.
Yeah.
And that's those 2 candles. So you can see that one engulfs, and then I thought, okay, well, like we're back at break even now. And then the next candle was just like more indecision, and then the other candle like started pulling down. Like initially that candle was bearish. I was like, oh, okay, we're cool then. Went to sleep, and I was like, wow. I kind of woke up halfway through that candle up there. I was like, wow, like, that's insane. I mean,
yeah.
My first target was 141, 1.41500.
Yeah.
It was about there, and the second was 139. It might have been like 139,800 or something like that. Or
makes sense.
139,800. Yeah, about there. Because I was worried about, like looking to the left, I was worried about those candles where the horizontal line is, and that the candles weren't closing below that price where we turned the last time. That you see, it's got like that little grouping of like 4 candles that just couldn't close below.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing I realized with higher time frame zones. Like, we like people be especially careful there, because I don't how does it look on the monthly? Let me just move this. Okay, nothing really. But like, for example, if we're in a very critical zone, like a previous high, it's always going to do something weird. It's going to have a fake out. It's going to pretend like it wants to go down, but then it doesn't go down, you know? Like even with this one, it even tricked you because it broke resistance, and then it came back to this previous high, and it's like, hey, I'm kind of retesting it, right? You want to take a buy?
Yeah.
Then it just dropped. I mean, look at that drop. I think that was news. I remember I actually took a sell here, without knowing it was news. I'm like, oh, that looks really good. Like
there was the inflation news. It was the inflation news because I was looking at GJ and I looked at it and I think I was eating breakfast or something. And I looked, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like we should probably be pushing down. And about 15 minutes after, I wasn't really looking because I wasn't trading London session, and it was about 9:35 and there was like 100 pip move. I was like, whoa, terrible.
Yeah, oh God. I mean, I after I closed it here, I was just like, why did I do that? It just retested this broken support, and then it dropped, and
So yeah,
I don't even want to look at
it's
it.
at 1.4 now. Yeah, 1.39800 would have been a nice target. I mean,
Yeah.
for me, that's just like that's in my journal as like, okay, well, to be fair, I kind of got tricked out by the structure. I think actually, like, if I would have been a bit more on the ball, you could see like where I got in for the sell was almost like it was just like a smaller time frame pushed down for a higher low to then just keep pushing up. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so if you look where it kind of stopped both of those times, like where that
Mhm.
candle sort of came down to, that makes sense. Like you had those three candles. Like it does kind of make sense.
Yeah. I mean, usually, for example, with me, that's why I wait for 4-hour closes. The entry here, which I didn't, because I didn't look at GU, but if I did, I would most likely want to take this trade. But obviously, I'd be really worried about this area. But so that's why I wouldn't take it. Like if I was realistic, I wouldn't take it because I think it might be a retest. But I did take the trade when it came down here because it just looked like it was rejecting. So I was like, fuck it, let's see. And it looked good. But that's why I tend to wait for 4 hours because it's like with this candle where you took the entry, it was a nice rejection from resistance, but like a big candle on these three bearish candles don't give me an entry at all. So I'd literally wait ages.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn. Okay, let's get back to UJ.
Okay, so we've
I
been
think for a
through.
GJ, right?
Yeah. So we've done UJ on the 4 hour. So probably, like, I mean, suggestions for now: see where market opens. See
Yeah.
if we can get past 107,800. Because if we do get past that, we should probably have a little retest of it anyway. So you'll be able to get your long entries. I mean, there's
Yeah.
only really so
I would say watch
that's like a
this
70
area.
pip range anyway between the
Yeah.
two zones. So
I mean, it'll be interesting to see because right now if I move the 107,800 to 107,700, like it's exactly to the dot. So I think if we have a close above, it would look really good. But we'll have to see.
mm-hmm.
Okay, well let's go to GJ. Here, I'll give you the remote control for this one,
Yeah, sure. All right,
so
cool.
you can take it. Okay.
There we go. Right, am I zooming in or not? It's not coming up on my screen.
You got it?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm thinking monthly levels. Like for me, really, how long have we got left? What do we say? We said 8 days. Right there. Let me
Yeah.
change this arrow.
Oh shit! You can do that.
Yeah, much easier. Much easier.
Okay.
Okay. So I mean, monthly levels for me. Yeah, we had a big sell off the last time at like what was that 155. What's we got to? Yeah, about 156, 157. Okay. So we had that big sell off on the monthly, but I mean, since then we've had 2 bullish months and we've still got 8 days left. So I mean, for me, I don't really go as high on GJ. Like, wait there, my screen's frozen. I don't know what's going on. There we go.
You see it?
Yeah, I'm zooming in a little bit now. Okay. I mean, it's interesting, but you could say that perhaps we've had like we're making bullish structure on the monthly, but generally I'm not on GJ. I don't really look that high. I'm looking more in terms of like weekly and daily, just because on the weekly now you can see that we're just pushing up massively. Like we've had that big push up from what's that back in September, October time. Like we've had just such a nice bullish structure, obviously of high highs, high lows. The way the weekly finished, obviously so we had like I think we might have had a daily wick. I think we might have had a weekly wick fill on Monday, and then from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's where we had like the big push downs with the news. Like, and obviously the candles obviously closed on the weekly bearish.
Yeah.
I mean, so for me, like, there's no real action on the weekly to say, okay, we're going up. So, I mean, technically, we didn't actually break the last high, which is, like we said, 156, or was it 157? Yeah, so 156.7, pretty accurate. so we didn't actually break that. So I mean, for me, I'm gonna just jump down into daily, really.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the thing with GJ, when it feels wicks and when it's in momentum, like it just goes so hard. Let me zoom in a tiny bit.
We're approaching a really nice support too, so that'll be interesting to see what happens.
I mean, because I'd be interested in this and this, like around these levels there. But so on the daily, you could say, so we've had that. Maybe looking in for like the low to then make a nice bullish structure and continue on to make get past and make a previous high. But I mean, it's had a big sell off from this area. So the next time we came towards this, I'd be probably setting a limit. But obviously that's variable. So we'll just see how that plays out. I mean, for me, UJ is so much clearer this week in terms of like a relevant trade that we can talk about obviously on a Sunday before market open, whereas like looking at GJ, it just looks messy. Like the way the daily candles just finished, like there's just no pulling back. So I mean, for me, there's no real action on daily, no real action on weekly. Well, let me go back to the daily. There's nothing. So what day was that? So we had the 17th. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. The 4 hour looks nice.
4 hour looks nice. A really nice support we're reaching. I feel like, because like one thing I realized, like we look really nice, but we need a proper, like, because in my opinion, we broke structure and now we're creating a lower low, right? Based on the 4 hour.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for a lower high and I don't see a lower high. Like those little pullbacks, I don't consider them as a lower high at all. Like I'd want a proper go back and then retest somewhere. So like either we get another thing on that area or 152 would be a nice retest because we're approaching a really strong support.
Might be more visible. Background. Order. There we go. Feel that just so you can see in terms of where we're talking about in terms of the lows and the highs. So yeah, I wouldn't consider that. That's just a pullback. That's just a pullback for like a daily feel. Nothing. That's that's not a significant point. I think actually, like now you're talking about it, and we're looking at like these points here. Like we're kind of coming into a nice little level. So looking left as well. I see that. So I think I'll be interested to see how GJ plays off where.
Because on the weekly and the daily, we can see that's a super strong support. So I could see that we could even go up to 152 something to get a retest of the broken support that we haven't retested yet. Because if you see how we broke like 150, wait, let me borrow them out, like around here, 152.8. I'm gonna just draw this. We had a retest of those levels. So if I can see a possibility of a lower high at 152.
Yeah, that would make sense. And then
just so it gives structure.
Yeah, because that's what I mean. At the moment, it just looks messy, like daily, weekly, and daily and weekly just look messy. Like whereas it's obvious what's kind of going on with USD JPY, but GJ at the moment for me is just isn't as clean cut.
That's why I usually try to, if I ever look at GJ, I just stick to the daily because it's less, because I mean, GJ, I don't even know how people trade it. Honestly, I get confused as hell when looking at the chart. Like, I'm confused. It's market structure, it just likes to fake everyone out and it has crazy pullbacks. I mean, look at that fucking wick. Fuck's sake. You, like, man.
It's unbelievable. Like, I think the thing with GJ is if you can get in like on an like for example, I'll trade an hourly wick fill on GJ, but usually I'm looking for 70-80% of the wick and I'm done. Whereas GJ will push past it another 10-20%. Like it, and it'll just make a ridiculous wick past it, and I'll just be like, okay, I'll get out here because I always want to like try and TP. But I mean, with the hourlies, like if you get like in on an hourly wick fill between like 8-9 and London session opening and stuff like that, like I've seen days where it'll just run on for the day, like it will just keep running on and filling the wicks on the hourly, 4 hourly. Like when it moves, it just goes. Like we always say that on webinars, so we'll say, okay, well, I'm up 5 or 6 pips now. And then you'll hear us saying, okay, 10, okay, 15, okay, 20. Like within the space of 5-10 minutes, like some of the candles that you'll see, even on the tiny time frames, like 1 minute, 5 minute, like I've seen like 30 pip candles on the 1 minute. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's bloody insane. I mean,
like, look at the 1 minute, look at that candle.
150. Oh, fuck's sake. That's just ridiculous.
And the thing is, sometimes some of the candles aren't even news. Like it's just a big push, big
Yeah,
push.
and it does. Sometimes it's not even at an open or a close. It just does this something.
That's what I mean. It doesn't make like sense. So a lot of the time, that's why I think a lot of people do struggle with GJ. Like if you're trying to swing GJ, it's difficult because like you might be up. Let's say because I was up about 70 pips on GJ. Probably about 2 months ago. It was a scalp that I thought, okay, well, I've probably got in at the bottom here and it looks good. I'll just keep that to run. So I was up about 70 pips and I put my stop loss at break even, and the next hour candle came back 70 pips. And I was like, how? And then I looked about 2-3 hours after it took me out and it had just literally reversed all the way. It had just left pretty much a wick down to where my stop loss was and then just all the way back. I was just like, that's typical GJ. Like,
yeah, I remember they made me so much money, but she lost me a lot as well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, because it will move so quickly. Like, even when you're scalping, your stop loss just has to be bigger. Like, it has. Like, I can't be using 6 pips. Like, for me, I'm using 10 pips.
Yeah,
because I mean the spread between like 0.6 to a pip. So I mean, you're already in trouble. It's so easy with GJ to get into a drawdown. It's so easy to be in like 5 pips drawdown.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy pay. Just like GBP USD, I think is the best version of GBP. Like GBP JPY is whoa, but GBP USD actually has some nice structure that actually respects it. So I kind of enjoy GBP USD now, but I can't ever get GJ under my belt ever. It just won't happen. It just won't. I'm looking at everything and I'm like, I don't even see an entry for myself on the 4 hour. It's just huge moves and a huge pullback and a huge move. Yeah. For example, just like even a possibility of an entry would be around here, and it just takes me out. I'm just like, bloody hell! It had to take me out and then drop. It had to do that, you know.
It's insane. Okay, so I've been through. Yeah, so for me, I think that would be right. I'd be waiting to see how market opens and maybe Monday sessions go, like to confirm whether we're going to probably get into that sort of lower high region, like you were talking about, 152 flat. But we'll see.
Yeah, probably like a retest around here even.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, and when it has retested, like then I'd be still looking for like another candle, like on maybe an hour candle to push away from it, 4 hour candle to push away from it, just so I know where my stop loss should be.
Yeah, because they won't tell you until later. Oh, man, crazy.
Okay, so we've done UJ, done GJ. Okay, so let's roll through questions.
Okay. I think I'll bring it over here. That's what I have on my screen at the moment from the questions. And I had a question through the chat.
Uh-huh.
He messaged me privately, so I don't think I'll show it.
Yeah, that's cool.
So he pretty much said, can you please show how swing trading works and how much pips you expect when swing trading candles from the 4 hour charts? So, I mean, swing trading works pretty much as we just did. Like if I just go in UJ because it just makes sense. But It's pretty much just looking from the higher time frame and dropping down to the lower time frame and just being patient. And usually I would say anyone who wants to start swing trading should avoid going any lower than the 4 hour for at least like a month or two, and just test your patience and understand like you won't ever catch all the moves. If you catch a move, you have to realize just by looking at the chart, there's always another move coming. And then with the how many pips I expect, where is that question gone? Shit. How many pips? I never expect, like, I never have a goal for myself every week. I never even expect how many pips. I'm not chasing pips. What I realized by having a goal set, like I want to get 5% a day or 5% a week, I tend to see in myself that I'm always trying to find a trade that's not there just because I want to hit my goal because I told myself I would. So instead, what I usually do is I give myself a limit of, let's say, I put myself 5% risk per week for the whole week. And I usually spread it out. So depending on the setup, because I know I'm only going to get 1 or 2 setups. So the only way I ever manage or see how many pips I get is pretty much based on the risk first. So let's say if I took a trade here, because let's say it engulfed. Okay. Let's say if I wanted to take a trade here first, I'll do this. I'll put my SL. I don't even look at how many pips I get. I just look at risk to reward. So if I put my here and it's 2 to 3, then I say, okay, I'll take the trade because it makes sense. And it's a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio, which is my minimum. If anything under, like let's say over here, I wouldn't even take the trade. So it's mostly just risk to reward that will help manage all your trades for you. And then that's the easiest way to also take care of your emotions.
I think as well, what a lot of people struggle with when they're swing trading is they might see like a 10, 20 pip move in one candle and they say, okay, well, I could have got in at this candle. I'm just going to dive in now. Whereas like you're talking about the 4 hour closes, I think that makes a lot of sense because let's say a move's already started, for example. So let's say, can I annotate? Here we go. Yeah, I can. Let's say you're looking at this move. So you identify almost that you've got that higher low. And so you're expecting to take out this.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's say you're approaching here and you say, okay, well, actually, we've already kind of had this move, this range. We've already had like a lot of people panic and say, okay, well, I've just missed that. But then, like, if you just look into this area here, like this also makes sense. Like these 2 weeks tell me instantly, okay, well, we're not going down. Like this is my chance to find and beat the last high. Like, I mean, that's what people I think struggle with a lot is that when they're swing trading, if they don't get in at the bottom of a move, like they don't have the patience to wait for structure to play out and for there to be like a new high or a new low, like they'll just dive in.
Yeah, it's all about FOMO. So when I have new students, I literally tell them get on a demo account. And for 2 weeks, you're not trading. You're going to plot your zones. You're going to see how it moves, but you're not going to even put one demo trade because you get emotionally attached to it. Then they start to realize that in those 2 weeks, like, okay, yeah, I might have missed. Where did it go? Where's that stuff? Where's the drawing? Like, yeah, I might have missed this area. But, okay, look, I noticed that I had another entry here. If let's say I missed this entry, I noticed that I could have entered later, maybe over here. Or maybe I just wait until later and I see, okay, maybe there's there's an engulfing here. I would have been stopped out. But there's so many different entry points over here, over here, over here. That takes time and you just have to count how many candles. Like if you miss this entry, you wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 4-hour candles. You know, it's all about patience all the time. You can't like force a trade. If you miss out, people have to realize that structure is always respected. People always think that, like, for example, like you mentioned, we had this lower high. People just expect us to just go up like in a straight line, which rarely happens.
Very, very rarely. I think that's like we keep saying, that's a problem that people will just like. The one thing I think that when it clicks is that the market doesn't move in one direction forever. Like there's got to be structure. Like that's how we're diving into things. So if you understand there's got to be structure, you're not going to expect 100 pip bullish move like we said earlier in the webinar. I think
It's
I
rare.
think I think for me, like if you're swing trading, you need to have things that deter you almost from taking um, from keep looking at the chart. So like a lot, I always say this to actually anyone that's trading. If you've not got like hobbies, get new hobbies. Like you need to actually limit your chart time because let's say, for example, you're swing trading and you get stopped out and you're looking at the charts all the time. You'll happily just jump into another trade just because you're
Yeah.
there, just because you're in front of the chart. And I think that's what people struggle with a lot. It's just limiting the
Yeah.
chart time. Like you say, 4 hour closes or um, you know, even like some people are happy with the 1 hour. Like it, for me, if the 1 hour looks good, and you've seen a couple of rejections. So let's say if we jump, can I? My annotating. If we jump
You have
onto,
the control.
yeah, if we jump onto this, like on the hourly, like that would make like quite a bit of sense to me to say, okay, are we really going down? And I mean, that's, I think probably where scalping does help me is that sometimes I can get those entries on a smaller time frame and say, okay, well, actually, let me just scale up a second. Oh, okay, this could be a high low on the 4 hours. So let's just hold it and see what happens.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I mean, it just comes down to testing patience, and it's mostly it mostly comes down to discipline. Like everyone who is like, if anyone in the webinar or like who's going to watch this ever struggles with pretty much swing trading, just take 2 weeks off of trading and just plot your zones and let it do its thing. And that's what I usually call eye cleaning. It's pretty much like you plot it and then you get to actually visualize, and every end of the day or end of the week you're like, okay, this kind of happened. And you say, okay, where would I actually take my trade? Then you realize this whole week there was only one setup for you to take. So then you don't actually have to spend too much time looking at charts, because then you're trying to find something that's not there. And that's why I tend to avoid trend lines, because unless it's based on market structure, I might look into trend lines as confluence. But if it's just trend lines, sometimes people just see that as like, I'm just going to, like, if we take a trend line and say we draw it like, I don't know, this is a bad example. But pretty much based on this one, there's so many different ways to draw a trend line. You could connect it here, you could connect it here, you could connect it here, and then you pretty much just saying like, okay, what looks best for me, and then you just take the trade, So that's why it just comes down to just plotting some zones like you do, or plotting support and resistance lines, and just observe the market. And then I'm sure like in 2 weeks, you're like, okay, I kind of understand what's going on. I realize that there's not as many trades for me to take, so I'm just going to chill out and wait for a proper setup, because there's no point risking money on something that you're not comfortable with. Like a lot of people message me saying, hey, what do you think price is going to do? I'm like, if I have to tell you that, you should get out the trade straight away and just fucking look at it. Because next time because when you're in a trade, you're emotionally attached. You're not actually learning anything from it. So I say, get out, let it happen. Next time in the future it happens, you're probably going to be ready because you've seen it before.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that you just can't really do. Like, you can only do so much, and chart time actually and accumulating chart hours, it's just something people just have to go through on their own. Like you say, those 2 weeks at the start of your intake, like that's it, people don't see it as beneficial because they've got their mindset of, okay, well, if I'm not trading, then I'm not making money.
Yeah.
But I think actually, if you're like serious about your trading, like you'll give it maybe 6 months, a year to make little to no money, because then after 6 months, a year, you've got such an understanding and a much better skill set. Like you can just rinse and repeat. But if you just dive into it in the first 2 months and you lose money, most people will just leave after that. Like they'll just say, okay, well, I've lost this, so I'll cut losses, and trading's obviously just not my thing. But that's just because they haven't accumulated enough chart time. Like it's like anything. And a good like I said earlier on, and it's part of the Chat with Traders episode 82, is he compares that actually fear of the outcome. So let's say, for example, hit stop loss and stuff. So do you think that every time that Lionel Messi takes a shot and he misses, that he's attached to the previous outcome? So this is episode 82. Yeah, 44 and 82. It's like the last 20 minutes of 82 that's the best. Like, I mean, all of it's good, but the last 10, 15 minutes, just referring to what I'm talking about now, is that once you've taken that one loss, so for example, let's say you get stopped out do you then compare future trades to previous outcomes? So, for example, does Lionel Messi, every time he takes a shot and he misses the shot, what about the next shot that he takes in the game? Do you think he's attached to the previous miss, or do you think he's just looking forward and going on?
Yeah.
Because he's confident in his abilities. One miss out of, let's say, 10 out of 10 or 9, or like, he don't miss a lot, but when he does miss, like in the game, he's probably gonna get another chance. Like, there's always going to be another opportunity for him just to put that right. And I think that's something that it's 82 is run by Futures Trader 71. That's something he really goes into depth from minute 50 to, I think it's an hour and 10 minutes. So like the last 20 minutes, like, definitely listen to that. I recommended somebody on Instagram listen to it, and he said that he's completely changed his like perspective. So
Yeah,
definitely.
Chat with Traders is a gem.
Oh man, Chat with Traders is a gem, and the fact that it's free, like surprises me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, me too.
they have the advertisements at the start, but I mean, it's just about like private healthcare and insurance and stuff that lasts about 30 seconds. So if you can tolerate that, then you're onto some gems.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, perfect. Do we have any more questions? So we talked
that
about
one we covered
that, yeah. Covered risk reward. Is it better to wait for pullbacks? Yeah, we've sort of covered that, talked about that.
If you're in Forex.
I suppose it depends on your schedule, to be honest. So let's say, for example, if you're in a 9-to-5 job, generally swing trading is going to benefit you more, and that's where, like for me, that's where limits come in. Because obviously I had a 9-to-5 job when I was trading for a while, and I think that helped me using limits as well, because you use limits and then I might be going into a meeting for 3 hours or 4 hours, but I had quite a flexible job. So I think it depends. Like, it honestly depends on what you work as. I mean, you could, let's say you just scalp on your lunch break, which is an hour. Like, if your lunch break's like London, New York overlap, you'll definitely fit a trade into it. But I think if you're time limited as well, you'll probably try and rush. So I think maybe like higher time frames would be more beneficial for you.
Yeah, and also
it depends.
Yeah, it depends on your schedule. Like you said, your schedule. I also think it depends on personality. Because if it fits, like for example, let's say your lunch breaks at London, and you don't see anything, just don't take it. A lot of people who scalp always feel like they have to take an open trade, even though they don't understand. Yeah. Which I don't understand. Like, I don't get that, because they're like, oh, it's London Open, this should have happened. But I'm like, if it doesn't make sense to you, just avoid it. Maybe you just need one trade. I mean, if you do 1% a week, that's even better than any hedge fund. It's better than money just sitting around in like your bank doing nothing. So people have to realize that slow growth sometimes is better than anything else. You don't have to blow the account for no reason. So if you don't understand, just stay out.
Mm-hmm. Do you set goals based on weekly, monthly average? I mean, I think it's good to have something in mind, but like you said earlier, Cabin, that actually, if you've got that, say, okay, right, I'm doing 10% a week, and it's Wednesday, and you've only done 2%. Like, most people will say, okay, well, I'll just up my lot size and up my risk to make sure I just get towards that 10%, because we've only got 1 or 2 more sessions left for me to trade this week. So, like, they'll just change the risk because, like, they've got less time. And I think that's what I've definitely seen, is that they're more likely to just take different risks based on like the ideal number that they've got in their mind, where actually you could still take the same risk and just be up 6% by the end of the week instead of your 10. It just doesn't make any sense just to change your plan just because you're a little bit behind what everybody else wants you to be. Like, it isn't up to anybody else what your gains are. Like, obviously they don't execute your positions at the end of the day. You're the one that does that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, just literally, I mean, it's always good to have a goal, but it's literally a goal. You're not supposed to hit every goal in life, right?
Exactly.
It's just supposed to take your path. So if you don't see anything and you have a 0% week, Actually, I think everyone should be happy with a 0% week because a lot of people lose money. So if you have 0% and you didn't lose money, you're better off than everyone else. So that's actually a win to me. Every time I get a break even or I don't make money in a week, I'm happy. Like this, my last trade before previously taking one on Wednesday was on the 11th. So that was like a week ago. So I didn't make any money in a week, but I felt like I was still winning in the market because I didn't lose money.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there was an analogy that came from Ted once. I think he came onto maybe one of my webinars, or I came onto his, and he said, like, you can either, like, which one would you rather be? You can be either trader A, and you both, like, trader A and trader B, and you can both start with 1,000 USD or 1,000 GBP. And at the end of week one, trader A has taken a trade and lost, and trader B has taken no trades and taken no losses. Like, trader B is the winner because he's still got more money left in his account to keep playing and keep stay in the game, whereas trader A is already on the back foot just because he's rushed. Like, trader B every single time.
Exactly. So if you guys, like, if anyone doesn't see anything, the whole week doesn't make sense, take that time to just observe, and maybe next time round you'll actually understand what's going on. And never rush into anything. Like, it took me a long time to realize about market structure. So everything takes time. But I think that's it, man.
Yeah, I think we should be good. Okay. Obviously, it has been recorded. So any questions people have got after it, obviously feel free to contact me or Calvin, both on Instagram or Telegram or WhatsApp, whichever one you guys are happy to use. And yeah, everyone will have a copy of this, and I'll obviously email you a copy of it, Calvin, to just share around.
Okay, perfect.
Cool, man. Well, obviously, thanks for linking up, man. I appreciate your time. It's been good.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. It was good to get pick your mind as well.
No problem. All right, cool. Well, I'll catch you later on.
Enjoy the rugby game, man. Take care.
You too, man. Bye.